What's up, everybody? Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Let me pop out the stream because I'm not going to be able to pay attention to it. What are we going to do today? I'm going back to working on this sprite editor. Work on that for a couple hours. So yesterday I was working on getting this slot map up and running. Let me walk through that real quick. So I wanted a way to be able to load up different textures and then place those into a hash table and then reference the places for those assets being via some kind of unique ID, but be able to iterate through all the data in a contiguous manner should I want to, and then also be able to move assets around without losing references to their spots in the data. You can't do this with a normal hash map like C++ would allow for because they're using linked lists, so you won't get the contiguous data. I have a slot array that's already defined in containers, but you can't reference any of the items inside of the slot array by anything other than a U32. So just a uint. So what I did yesterday was decided that, well, I'll just go ahead and extend that and make a slot map. So you can use a hash table for the indirections, the indirection map that gives you the key into the slot array, and then that slot array uses that key in order to give you the actual data. So it's two lookups for your data, which, you know, take that as you will. But it scales in O of 1 time. It's still a O of 1 lookup, so not that concerned about it. Let's see. So let's look at the asset manager. So the asset manager itself, for now, it's just going to be a slot map of U64 as the key to textures. And then whenever you see down here in the initialization for the app, create a new asset manager, and then we're just going to call this generic macro. We're going to pass in the asset manager, what kind of asset it's going to be, file location, and then any other parameters for its initialization. This is the macro that actually defines that. So again, the asset manager, the type, file path, and then any variant number of arguments that can go into the function. And this is how you do generics in C, by the way, for those of you who don't know. You know, this is compiling for C++ because I'm using IMGUI, so it could have, as I was explaining yesterday, it could be something like this. It could be something like this that you want to do, and then I can't remember the argument. I think it's something like this. Is that how you do that? I can't remember how to do it. That doesn't look right. Anyway, you can do that, or in C, you could do something like this, and then just use the preprocessor in order to define which function you're going to load into. So this is the actual function. And what we're doing here is calling into this get qualified asset name. This is actually how I'm going to reference the file. So in my assets right now, I have this coffee image, which is also the image for the stream, and then this sprite for the Contra player. And we pass that in, and what it's going to do in order to qualify the asset name is that it's going to take whatever directory it is, it's going to strip out, well, it's going to lowercase everything so that it's uniform. It's going to replace all the forward slashes with dots or with periods. It's going to remove the first 9 characters, so this assets directory, so this relative assets directory gets rid of that. Okay. And then we just do a substring to get rid of the file extension, and then we'll return that to the user. We're going to create the texture with a texture parameter description. The parameter description is defined in here. It's right here. So these are all the different parameters that you can fill out for a gunslinger texture or GS texture. So we have texture wrap, both for the S and T directions. We have a min filter, mag filter, what type of matte filtering you're going to do, a border color as well. Pretty much all the OpenGL texture formats that you can kind of throw into it. Whether or not you actually want to generate MIPS, the texture formats. So this is things like if it's an LDR texture. So up here we have RGBA8, RGB8, RGBA16F are the supported ones right now. This actually holds the texture data. So all the texture data, you can decide whether or not you want to hold on to that yourself, or Gunslinger will free it for you. Width and height parameters for the texture, number of components, all that kind of stuff. This is also useful for being able to create your own textures if you want to do that dynamically, and then you can pass in this stuff and Gunslinger will create a GPU texture for you and then give you all this information back. So we do that. And then we insert it into our asset manager. And then during the update frame, I'm just doing a simple update right now. So the way Gunslinger works is that you actually create an app description and you fill it in with your initialization and update functions. And then during the runtime of the engine, it'll call these things for you. So again, that's the app init, and then during the app update, this runs every frame. It's very simple. I'm just going to look for platform to see whether or not a key is pressed, and if a particular key is pressed, I'm just going to, if escape key is pressed, then we're going to end the application. And the way we designate that we're ending is that we return certain results back to the engine. If we return success or failure, we kill the program, and then we return notification back to the user just in form of a print log of what happened. If we return an in progress, then we're just going to continue to run the application. So for this, we're just going to create a new IAM GUI frame and then wrap all of our update inside of that. So that means that anywhere inside the update, you should be able to call IAM GUI code. That's how that works. Then we're going to do our personal UI, and then we're going to render. So let's see. And then for the UI, it's very simple. It's just going to view the textures that we have loaded inside of the asset manager, depending on which key's pressed. So if I press the C key, I'm going to load the coffee image. If I press the 1 key, I'm going to load the sprite sheet image. And these are how we actually get the images back from the slot map. So I'm going to hash 64-bit, or hash a string into a 64-bit uint identifier. So again, this is the qualified name for the Contra sprite. It's just going to be the image without the file extension. Same thing for the coffee. Do that. So this is one way that you can have unique identifiers, because within a directory, you're not going to be able to have 2 file names that are the same. I mean, unless you do I mean, there's a possibility you could do something like that if you had, you know, like lowercase and capital letters and all stuff like that, but I'm not going to worry about that use case. You could do this, or you could do UUIDs. UUIDs I would do if I was creating like an editor that I was, you know, anticipating on handing out to other people, and then they could use it for their own kind of stuff. So that way you could drag and drop the image and it would create the UUID, and then you would have an asset system that's able to look at that and reference these particular assets. At the beginning of the program, you would crawl through an asset directory that's defined, and then you would look for particular assets, and then you would load those into like a cache system. It's much more complicated. Not necessarily complicated, just time intensive, and I don't really want to care about doing that. So we're just going to do directories for now. And then we're just going to view the texture. So make sure everything still compiles. I didn't mess anything up. So you modified the slot array. Can you make variable names more pretty? What are you talking about, man? These are gorgeous. Show demo window, G texture. It's perfect. All right. My music stopped. I gotta start that back up. So again, if I press C, then I get this image. If I press S, then I get the sprite sheet. So the slot map is working fine. Now, what I want to start working on is I need a way to be able to, depending on the image, select certain boundaries and then define various regions for that sprite. And again, the entire purpose of this is to be able to take these images into like a game and be able to reference the particular sprites. Without having to do it by hand. That's the point. So, because if you look at the sprite sheet that's actually available to me, it's not a uniform sprite atlas, right? All these are packed in a particular way. So the bounds are going to be not uniform, not even across. What's up, Unidabe? Get my music back. So I'm just going to work, and if you guys have any questions, let me know. Hey, good morning. Good. Glad I figured it out. So let's just define. All right. So let's split it up into steps. What I'm first going to need to do is actually define what a. Let's see. Individual sprite is define. Something like this. So let's look at the asset. You guys aren't familiar. How sprites are set up. So for the texture, it's going to have UV coordinates 0 to 1. And we're going to pass those in. And we're actually going to use the sprite batch, or quad batch rather. Shoot. Thanks, Pislify. I think this series, if I can get this up and going, I think it'll be cool. So the idea is kind of similar to that. It's an extension of that. I need a way to be able to do them faster. Like the Noita video took a month to do. And that's just in animations and all that. So I want to do them more often than that. So the idea I have for this, what I was telling people yesterday, I don't know if it'll work out. I think it will. It's take old retro games that I used to play as a kid, and then recreate like the first level to them. So for this one, it's Contra 3. Recreate the first level to Contra 3. So. And to do that, I need to define sprite regions. Honestly, we could just forego like a sprite editor and just get into sprite regions and just, I'll go into Photoshop and just determine what the individual regions are and just hand do it for now, just to get something going. But, so we know it needs a texture to reference as its base texture. The individual sprite's gonna have, within that texture, it needs to look at UV coordinates, right? So I don't necessarily care about storing the width and the height. Let's see. Do I want it in pixels or do I want it normalized? I don't think I care about, see, I just want pixels, I think. Or have it normalized. No, I'll store pixels because it'd be easier just to, it'd be easier. So this is going to be X, Y, width, and height. They're going to be stored inside of the vec4. Individual sprites, body by body, animation. Probably just be a dynamic array. Dynamic array of sprites. C++, you can use the struct without the type def. Yeah, but I'm just being consistent. I'm writing this as if it's C. The only reason I have C++ compiling for this is because of IMGUI. And IMGUI has a C port for it, but it's missing a lot of features, and it's actually a pain in the ass to compile. So I'm using the C++ version and just writing it as if it's C. The only really big thing that I have to watch out for is doing stuff like, let's see, sprite t, sprite. So you can do this in C, you can't do this in C++. You actually have to fill it in with a 0 in order to do a default initialization. So what I've done actually is just created this macro where this is, depending on whether or not it's C++ or C, it'll evaluate to different things. So. All right, let's just make one. Screw it. Let's do it, boys. I'm gonna need, I need a quad batch. Let's just call this, no sir, do not use vector. I don't use C++, what's the word I'm looking for? Any other templated types. I don't use any other standard containers. I'm not a fan of RAII, so I want to know that everything is being initialized and constructed when I want it to be. That's why I use C, not C++. Material to it. Pretty sure that, let's see. Yeah, you can just use the default. All right, sweet. Yeah, I don't know what the delay. I think it's, I don't know. More stuff to figure out. This. Make sure that's right. And symmetric it. Okay. When do I think I'll finish this editor? I don't know, man. Again, at the end of the day, this isn't going to be something I plan on releasing so people could use, so I don't need it to be user-facing quality like I would do at work. I need it to be something super simple so that I can define sprite regions and then load them in and use them to construct levels and do everything else that I need to do. So really, it doesn't even necessarily need to be a standalone application. That's what I'm thinking, is it could be part of the game itself. I could just have a runtime editor where I can just drag stuff around and then it'll save out level data and then save out like sprite regions and things like that. I really haven't decided. Like, this is all off the cuff. I'm thinking as I go. You guys are seeing the raw way that I work, right? Non-produced, none of that. This is literally just how I put my head down and work. So. Let's see what we can quad batch in frame. Let's not do this for now. All right, so I really just want, well, let's see, we can do this. QB, I don't know if QB is, okay. Good catch, thanks. All right, I just copied a lot of the, so I have a bunch of examples for Gunslinger, quite a few actually, that show off different things that you can use the framework for, and the one I'm looking at right now is just the quad batch, which takes a bunch of different sprites, puts them into a big quad batch, and then it just renders them in one draw call. So I'm going to see if this all works. I'm defining this wrong. Okay. So in C++, you can't define structs this way. So what I'm going to do, Actually, that'll work. I probably don't do that. Well, let's see. Can you do an empty initializer like this? I don't think so. All right. Okay. That does work. Does it? Okay, cool. All right, so this is the quad batches working. It's drawing 10,000, I think. Is that how many? Yeah. So 10,000 of our player sprite sheet being drawn into a large quad batch. So this is good. This is kind of the rendering that we'll do for the game itself. I feel like the frame rate's a little slow. That's probably because I'm streaming as well. All right. Okay, so quad batches are good. So that's going to be our player quad batch. We do not need 10,000 of them. All right, bye. I program on Windows, Mac, and Linux. Yep. Hmm. All right. Let's try and get an animation going. Let's just do that. So it looks like the basic run animation is just this one right here. These 4 frames. I'm gonna need an image editor up so that I can look and see. Let's do it. Actually, don't need this. I just need.
actually. It's just GIMP.
I don't have Photoshop on this Mac. I have it on my desktop. I would switch to my desktop, but I like being out in my shop working. I don't like being in my office closed off. Something depressing about sitting inside. So and until I get a desktop out here at my shop or get a Linux or a Windows PC or Windows laptop out here, I'm going to be on the Mac. But I just need an image editor so that I can look at the UV regions for each of the individual sprites. Unless someone knows a good online editor where I can just drag bounding boxes and then look at the pixel regions. I'm the opposite way. Oh, so you don't like being outside? You like being inside? Yeah, I used to be that way, but not now. It gets depressing being inside. So here's what I'm thinking. Maybe you guys have I mean, shit, I could write it myself. I didn't want to take the time. I'd like to actually get into making the game and not spend all this time writing a damn tool. But this was originally what the sprite editor was going to be, which was, you know, select a region and then define a sprite, which might sound simple, but there's a lot that goes into that. So if I could just get a, yeah, they are expensive, and honestly, they're not worth it other than being able to have, knowing that your stuff is cross-compatible if you care about that. But Apple's doing so much on its end to make that difficult that I mean, they put themselves out of the gaming market. So, but again, Gunslinger for me just isn't just about doing games, right? So I work on a Mac at work, and I needed something in order to write tools for Mac, Windows, and Linux. So games is kind of an afterthought. But like here's what I need, right? So defining the player sprite animation, so I'm get the running animation going. I need to be able to know the pixel locations for these 4 frames, right? So they're top left X, Y positions, and then the width and height for each of these. So let's see if GIMP is actually... So I am not a fan of GIMP, but let me see if this does what I want. So this is what I would be creating, by the way, not freaking GIMP, but I just need, this is all I need right here. So, oh my gosh, there you go. So give me a selection marquee. Is this it? Yeah. So some way to be able to lock in at a pixel level, and then say, give me, you know, this particular region. Define that, and then say, this is my sprite for this particular frame, right? And then give me this particular region. And then that's my sprite for that particular frame. I might end up having to write that anyway, because it's not going to be exact, right? Even if I come in here and I do this, capture the pixel bounds, which I'm not even sure if it gives it to me. 0.77 to, I'm kind of guessing here, 37.121. Maybe, I don't know. It'll probably jump up and down, so it'd be nice to be able to update those bounds dynamically, and then not have to worry about it. But let's, here, I'll just show you what I'm talking about. So we should be able to, so let's say this is our first frame for our run animation. All right, so we're gonna go from, let me zoom in, I think it'd be easier. Be more precise. All right, so let's say that. So we're gonna go from 0.81, it looks like, to 37.121. Okay. So then I need to define that, and then for the running, we'll push all these frames into it. All right, and then that'll define our run animation. So now I need to fill out these coordinates here. So let's go back into GIMP. Again, this is so incredibly inaccurate, but we're doing it. Okay. 3781. 73,121. Composition declaration not permitted in this context. Oh, duh. Jeez. Hey, Matt.
Hey, buddy. Segfault. Alright, so I can do this all in there. It's fine. Oh.
Alright, let's see if this fucked up or not.
Let's see. All right, let's see. No definition, static T. Eh. SWTT. Oh, okay. Yeah. X, yes. Okay. Yeah. I also need to change the
Texture settings using bilinear filtering on it. This needs to be, it needs to have no filtering.
All right, let me see. 0.19, 0.14, 0.28.
What's up, buddy?
Let's see. Which one did I grab there? So which one did I grab? Did I grab that guy? Yeah, right there. Hmm. And then I've got him hanging. Which is down here. Man, that's all messed up. So I'm wondering. I need to flip the UV coordinates because that's him lying down as well. Where's him lying down? Right here? Yeah. Oh, okay, so it's right here. So I'm thinking and I'm wanting right here. So I think, yeah. Let me try flipping it. So instead of this, it should actually be the inverse. Let's try that. Okay. Alrighty. Yeah, so the inverse for the vertical. Now I just need to flip the UVs. And then let me change the texture. That's already bugging me. So let's see, the parameter description. We won't use the default. So texture, parameter description. Load the default, but then if we actually look at what this is, we're interested in the min filter and the mag filter. And I don't think I want to generate bitmaps because we're not going to be zooming in and out. It's going to be a standard, or if you look at Contra, there's no zoom, right? It's just what it is. So for the texture format, make sure I'm doing this right. Yeah, so it's just these. Yeah. So let's see if that changes it. And then while I'm doing that, I actually want to, let's do this faster. Because my DT is going to be pretty low. Man, IMGUI takes forever to compile. Alrighty. And we're gonna do right and left. I think that's right. I probably need to flip that with the bottom and the top UVs as well. Yeah, so that was right, just the bottom and the top UV. And then the filtering's still wrong. Oh, because I'm just passing that in. Yeah, I'm not using it. Idiot. Let's just get rid of this. change that. String still going okay? C style string formatting is hard. Because it can be. There we go. There's our dude. And now that I got rid of that filtering, actually the UVs look pretty good. So there's our run animation for our dude. I actually I don't even know their names. What are their names? Contra 3 character names. Should know this. Guns blazing. So Bill Reiser. Is it Jimbo and Sully for number 3? Yeah, it totally is. Yeah, so there we go. You got Jimbo running. So we'll need something that's well, does that seem right? It is interesting how these sprites are all split up. What's the in-game goal? Try to recreate the first level of Contra 3. So, kind of fucking around, but maybe make a video out of it. I don't know. But this run animation looks kind of wonky to me. It's missing some frames. Yeah, it's right at least. I don't know. Does it? I don't know. It looks like it's missing some of the animation though. Hey, let me watch him run. Yeah, so yeah, it's totally missing. Looks like the back feet. Let me slow this down. I might have to like load up. Yeah, it's missing. Like 4 frames out of the animation. Run looks janky. Yeah. That's, but it's missing. See, look at this. I don't have the frames where his back legs actually extend. So it's missing like half of the run cycle. So it doesn't look like this rip has that, which was kind of my concern. Damn. Unless I'm missing something. I don't see it though. Yeah, there's going to be a stream delay. It's just YouTube does that. Yeah. I've tried messing with OBS and its settings, but I mean, let me look around and try to find another rip of this. gosh. So yeah, this. I guarantee you, for the SNES, because of the restrictions, the memory restrictions they had, I doubt they had full sprite sheets. It was probably chopped up and then they reassembled. So the way I'm thinking about doing this is probably not the way that they did it. So if you look at, let's see. Yeah, but even still, I don't see a leg that's doing what I'm thinking. I don't know. You guys correct me. Am I thinking about this weird? Seems to be a ping pong animation. I need a frame where his back leg is forward and his front leg is backwards. Because it should go here, there, that, steps there, and then there should be a frame with this, but it's this leg. Then that knee comes up and then does that. Bottom row, third from left. Let me see. I'm assuming you meant what was visible. Yeah, but it's the same frame as this. Like, look at the lower halves of these, right? So this is what I was saying, that like, think about the architecture for the SNES, which is what this came out on. There's no way in hell they had full sprite sheets like this. These images are huge. So what they would do is that they'd chop up any items that they would need for the character, and then they would reassemble them in code. So that's why a lot of this stuff looks very similar, because it's the exact same images, right? So his legs being like this are the exact same for all these images. Or at least the run. There's more rows than I thought. Oh yeah, there's quite a few in here. But the original sprite sheet in memory didn't look anything like this. There's no way. This would have taken up all the memory for the SNES. Just this image. 1.2 megs. Yeah, there's no way. But even still, I'm not seeing. I'm trying to think about how I would recreate that and if it's possible, but I'm not seeing.
I don't see an orientation of his legs like that. I might have to do some research and then think about this. And either just do a stream where I'm actually creating art, because that might be what I have to do anyway. I mean, I'm not going to find all the rips that I need. So I might have to do an art stream, unfortunately. I was hoping not to do that, but I might have to. And then change the order that it goes in. Looks like he starts off weird. Yeah, he should start from like an idle. So this one is his standing, just general stance, right? This is interesting. Yeah. It does. Let me look at that video again. See, I'm missing that frame. Let me try to pause it on that frame. I need his legs like this. And that's nowhere in the rip. So whoever did this rip totally didn't include that. Sprites are both legs are the same, but with change palettes. I was thinking that for a second, Mateus. It might be that. So they might. This might actually be everything, but they just possibly palletize depending on where they are. But even then, let's see. Does that look possible? Because I'm trying to look at the hips as well. So the hips are probably... Because that could be the hips for that. And then this back leg could be that, but it's brought to the foreground for that frame and then positioned differently. This is then brought up here and it's put behind the hips. Yeah, that could be it. So what I should do instead, again, like I said, is either take the time to recreate this sprite sheet with all the frames that I actually need and position it all. So I'd chop all this up and just recreate these sprites because I don't really care about the memory size of this. I'm not trying to recreate the conditions of the SNES. I'm just trying to recreate that level, right? Or if I want to be more faithful to how they did it, then I would chop it up, give me all the individual parts, put that in a sprite sheet, and then in the code I'd have to reassemble like pivot points and all that shit. So I don't know. This is interesting. But today, you know, simple sprite animation running. So we loaded up a sprite frame and then we got him running. It's very hacky right now, but just using a quad batch, using the camera system. The camera's going to be basically the way the camera's going to work is it's going to be stationary. There really won't be any zoom features. Probably just use that to place items in the world. So it'd be like a debug camera. So we'll have two different cameras, but then the player camera is going to be like this, right? And this is like at a 4:3 resolution as opposed to the 16:9 that you're kind of used to. So maybe I'll squash the image frame to try and get it looking pretty much exactly like it used to, but I'm not sure. Rip. I mean, that's how this thing goes. You start to work on something and you know, I knew I didn't have everything to begin with. I mean, a lot of the level stuff isn't there. So it's going to be kind of recreating stuff. But I think Mateus has it right. I think that's what they did. And I think that's what I'm going to have to do for this is, I don't know. I'm going to decide what I want to do. If I want to recreate the sprites or if I want to chop it all up and then recreate using pivot points. Honestly, I think the faster way would be just to recreate the sprites because I'm not concerned about the memory. It'd be what, like the image would be 2 to 4 meg. I don't really care. Oh, you said whoever ripped this didn't add the animation. Says, oh yeah. Speed up the animation. Yeah, I mean, I'm not really. The frames are wrong, right? So I don't really care, but we can speed it up. Let's do it. And again, this is hacky too, like the static float variable and then just increasing that and then changing the frames. Like all this will be held inside of the animation itself. And it'll be based on a state machine for the player input. This was just to get a sprite animation going and just seeing it run and then just seeing whether or not the frames are correct anyway. What I am happy about is I don't necessarily have to make a sprite editor. We'll just use GIMP. Because then I could just do what I did today, which is go through, select, because I was going to make this anyway. Just go through, select all the frames, and then cache all that information as like an asset. Yeah, that's roughly the same speed. Actually, it's a little too fast, but it doesn't matter. So again, we're missing those pieces, but I'll try to put that together. So either tomorrow's stream is going to be, I mean, tomorrow's stream is probably going to be like an art stream, just creating the sprite sheet that I'll need for this guy. Try to get that done. And then we'll have Jimbo or Bill or whatever his name is. And then from there, the plan is to be able to have like a palette of tiles. So I think what I'm gonna do is like just have an in-game editor. So a palette of tiles. The entire world will be like a tiled world because that's how stuff like this was made. So if we, look at this, there's a little bit of isometric to the view as well, which would be interesting to work with. But really, it's just going to be this ground plane, and you'll have some background elements. And then we got parallax in the back as well. So that's kind of a cool feature that we'll have. Yeah, so we'll have foreground features, interaction, collisions. Let's see. But it's all tile based, right? So what we'll have is like a foreground element or a foreground actual interactability layer. And then for this, I'm just going to have, press some debug keys. It'll open like a debug window where I can actually zoom around and look at the entire world. And for that foreground element, or select a layer and then be able to drag and place and paint tiles, and then we'll have interactivity, right? So maybe don't necessarily create the level, tile for tile, but we'll have the ability to be able to recreate it. So, and then what else do we have? Like weapon pickups, that'd be kind of standard stuff. We'll have
these events that trigger. I realize I'm playing it. Yep. This will be cool though. Will you draw the world or rip it? If I can find it, I'll try to rip it. I don't want to draw it, man. I don't want to take the time. Take way too much time. Yeah, this game was awesome. We had fun playing it. So I don't know how far I'll go. Maybe just get to this guy. The rip that I found on here, this is kind of where I got the idea to do this, is they have pretty much the entire first level. Yeah, so they have the boss right there. They have a lot of the stage 1 enemies. I think they don't have any backgrounds, but I can go online and find all the elements and then maybe just create those tiles. So there might be some that has to happen there that I'm gonna have to do manually, but yeah. So that's the plan. See how far we get with it. And then create like a title screen or whatever. But yeah. All right. So I think that's gonna wrap up today. Thanks for tuning in. Tomorrow again, it's probably gonna be an art stream. So probably gonna just be creating art assets for that player. So. All right, guys. Talk to you later. Bye.